Update on the blizzard that will be approaching the upper Midwest that will continue as we go into tonight through tomorrow into early Saturday as well. A high impact winter system. We're talking about heavy snowfall, blizzard conditions, which is a different thing. Blizzard conditions meaning very low visibility, difficult if not impossible travel conditions. And then behind the snow, the bitter cold will come around as well. Extremely dangerous wind chills approaching upwards of 40 degrees below zero. So big problems will be on the horizon here as we add into the next several days with some brutally cold temperatures on the way. We're also doing something a little bit different tonight. Just FYI, we are simulcasting on a bunch of different pages and YouTube channels and things like that. So hopefully this works. I've not tried this before, so we'll see how this pans out. I do want to first, though, start off with this little note that came from the National Weather Service over in Des Moines. If you follow me on Facebook, you can see the post, but this is what they said in their discussion today regarding the blizzard warning. Storms of this magnitude are fairly rare, with recurrence around once or twice per decade. Travel is not recommended except if absolutely necessary, especially by Friday afternoon into the evening. Now, the bulk of the snow will be coming through the next about 24 hours, so late tonight into early tomorrow morning for most of the area, with a second wave of snow moving through late tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours, especially east of I-35. But the biggest issue will be the wind with the system on the backside. There will be heavy snowfall. But then, of course, we're also tracking the potential for some very serious wind and blowing snow and drifting snow and a lot of problems. Here's what the storm looks like right now on the radar view. We do have a mesoscale discussion. This is basically an outlook that comes from the Storm Prediction Center. Talks about that prospect for heavy snowfall. We're talking about heavy snowfall with snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. We talked about this not being much of an issue today, especially for much of Iowa. This was likely going to mainly be an overnight ordeal for much of the state of Iowa into early tomorrow morning. And so, yes, the system is ongoing. You can see the heavier snow bands are developing here. It's starting to eat away at some of the drier air in place. And what you can also kind of see, if we'll stop it at real time, you can also see some of these banding features that are ongoing. Oh, I keep breaking this. Here we go. Band. And you're going to start seeing all these bands kind of set up. And once they begin to kind of come on together, you're going to really start seeing an air of very heavy snowfall totals. Kyle saying got 14 inches south of Iowa City this week. Can't wait for another 5 to 8. 30-ish winds will be probably on the lower side of the winds. Probably like a lot of 30-mile-per-hour gusts for a long duration, but some gusts could approach 50 miles an hour with this system. Just a brutally cold system here. Here's what the battle map looks like. We do have those winter storm warnings in effect from south central Nebraska through the state of Iowa into Wisconsin, northern Illinois, into Michigan as well. So a big swath of winter storm warnings in effect. And of course, we do have those blizzard warnings in effect. That blizzard warnings technically kick off tomorrow after the bulk of the snow has already fallen because the winds pick up. Tonight, technically winter storm warning. Tomorrow, blizzard warning. That's as the winds pick up. Matthew, is there a record for snowfall in a week in Cedar Rapids? I can definitely pull it up for you if you want to stick around for a little while. I'll go through some of the forecasts and stuff. We'll take a look at some stats as well because it is pretty interesting. Candy saying when's supposed to start in Cedar Rapids? I'll get to that here in just a minute. But the short answer is in the next couple of hours, probably around maybe 2, 3 a.m., something like that. We'll get more detailed with that here in just a minute. But again, we do have all those alerts. And of course, winter storm watch is in effect as far east as Detroit. Once we get closer to the snow falling, that's when those will likely be upgraded because you'll likely miss out on the heaviest snow over in Detroit. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they go into a winter weather advisory as opposed to winter storm warning. We'll see how that shapes up. Here's my kind of preliminary forecast. Here's kind of where things I think shape up right now. This is pretty much in agreement with the different sources like the National Weather Service and things like that. A widespread area of 6 to 10 inches of snow looks pretty likely. Far eastern Nebraska into much of northern Iowa, especially along north of I-80. Probably will have the heaviest of that snow. And then in east central Iowa into far northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, into much of northern Michigan. I have some overlap here of the ranges here. I have 6 to 10 and 7 to 12. Typically, I don't like to overlap ranges, but what ends up happening here is that we have one pulse of snow tonight with another pulse of snow tomorrow. And so I think really getting two very clear, distinct, different ranges, I don't think is a very good way to put it, because the heavier totals will be east, but how heavy I think is still a bit to be determined, because it's really going to shape up on exactly how these two different pieces of energy kind of interact with each other. That's why the overlapping ranges. Either way though, again, I don't want you to get too caught up on how much snow you're going to see, because the impacts will be the same regardless. We're talking about very difficult travel, if not impossible travel conditions, especially midday Friday through Friday night into early Saturday. Heather asking, will there be a flash freeze for the Quincy, Illinois area? Definitely a possibility. You'll notice Quincy, I got around that 1 to 3 inch range. You're also in that winter weather advisory down there in Adams County. I think Quincy will probably miss out on the heaviest of the snow. That should be well off to your north. Probably though some light snow mixing in as well. However, I do think there is some potential that once the colder wraps in, yes, a flash freeze will be a possibility. And again, if you do want very detailed snow forecast, I always encourage you to look at the National Weather Service. They're going to be a great source of information. I'm covering, as you can see, a pretty large area. So county by county, there may be some intricacies, here and there, but this is kind of a broad brushed approach. I would encourage you to look at things like the National Weather Service. Let's go ahead and time this out, since that is a topic of discussion here. We're going to be looking at the high resolution rapid refresh model here, doing a pretty good job so far tonight. Here we are at 7 p.m., so that's an hour ago, which I think is holding onto it pretty well. We'll do 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So here we are at midnight, and you start seeing that snow pushing into southern Iowa, especially along and south of I-80. They will likely see the snow first, but the heavy snow will likely be just north of southern Iowa. So, asking about Cedar Rapids, again, my ballpark around 1 to 2 a.m. looks to be about accurate, maybe midnight, the earliest. There may be some dry air that'll be eaten away at first, but we could see that snow begin to push in, and then we definitely see it really kind of overtake as we go through the overnight hours. Here we are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. So a bit of a difference now compared to what we were looking at yesterday. The heaviest snow actually may linger now into the morning commute farther south. Cedar Rapids, originally, we were thinking maybe a break in the heaviest snow before we start seeing that second wave later in the day. You might stay in snow all day tomorrow as that second part of the system begins to wrap in on the backside. So we're going to continue to deal with that threat for snow. Again, down in Quincy, you likely transition over to rain, wintry mix, and rain around the morning commute. You're going to be right on that line. That includes over towards Chicago as well. Chicago, you're going to be battling with that snow as well. Northern Cook County, so north of Chicago, probably the best chance for those heavier snowfall totals. Chicago downtown and points south, you're likely going to start seeing some lesser totals down that way because of more mixing. That wind coming straight east off Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is not frozen over, so it's still above freezing, and therefore it'll help aid in some more mixing that will be occurring. So a very difficult forecast for Chicago. And then here we are, by noon tomorrow, the snow is still ongoing in eastern Iowa into southern Wisconsin, and then there's some heavy snow that will likely be ongoing here. We'll stop it here at 6 p.m. tomorrow. So the good news, the active snow that's falling, that begins to pull out of the area. The bad news now is that once we go into the evening hours tomorrow, the wind really begins to pick up, and all that fresh snow we just had now becomes blowing and drifting snow as the winds really increase. So by midnight, most of the snow is now east of Iowa, but much of Wisconsin still dealing with that snowfall. Northern Illinois and Michigan is now really starting to get into the snow for the first time with this by late day tomorrow. And then by, we're tracking a potential kind of quick moving clipper system with that Arctic front as it kind of passes on through midday Saturday. This may be enough to even add insult to injury. Another quick round of maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow for central Iowa. This could also be pretty impactful because this will coincide with some very strong wind gusts, so even more blizzard concerns Saturday afternoon before the main issue then turns to the cold. So let's talk about the winds. That is why we have blizzard warnings in effect. Again, to reiterate what a blizzard is, blizzard has nothing to do with how much snow falls. Blizzard warnings are simply low visibility and strong wind. Those are the deciding factors for blizzard warnings, as well as how long they persist. There's two very different things that happen with that. So we're watching that very closely. So here comes the winds. We go through the overnight. The winds will increase. The winds will be gusty and then really starting to increase in eastern Iowa by late morning and through the afternoon. You see, we're still talking wind gusts of 35, 40 miles per hour here. So it's not the strongest wind of this event, but it's still going to be a problem. Here we are at 10 a.m. You can see much of Iowa in that 30 to 40 mile per hour range. Blowing and drifting snow will be occurring, and there's still some light snow falling at this point in time. So we're still going to be dealing with low visibility at this point. But look what happens as we head towards late tomorrow evening. The models are really hinting at the winds really ramping up as we head towards the evening hours tomorrow, especially eastern Iowa, west central Illinois. That's when winds could potentially push 40 to 50 miles an hour, and that will continue as we go into early Saturday morning. So a really prolonged period here of really strong winds with this system. It's just going to be a problem from beginning to end. First it's the snow, then it's the snow and the wind, and then just the wind. So all sorts of issues with this high impact winter storm. And then, of course, the other issue is the cold that comes behind. I do want to look at the high-resolution rapid refresh. Again, this is the model's take on snow to come. So what's still to come here? And you can kind of see this big area here of, double-digit snow once again to eastern Iowa. I do think this is overdoing the snowfall a bit here in far southern Iowa and far northern Missouri. I do think it is overdoing some of that snowfall totals there. Just because I think there's going to be a bit more mixing down that way. Let me go back to this. Get a bit of a better view here. I think this is a little overdone, but I mean, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, I don't think this is out of the realm of possibility. Again, that's a deterministic forecast. That is, just one model's take. Here's kind of what I'm thinking, kind of looking at a bunch of different models, maybe some more mixing down south. That's why my totals are a bit less farther south. We're keeping an eye on it very closely, but again, the heavy snow will likely be eastern, northeastern Iowa into far northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin into northern and central portions of Michigan. So that's what we're looking at there in terms of the snowfall threat. One term you're probably going to start seeing and hearing a lot of is bomb cyclone or bombogenesis. I know a lot of the national media tonight already leading with that, like the nightly news and things like that. What does that mean exactly? So bombogenesis or a bomb cyclone is when you have an air of low pressure dropping 24 millibars in 24 hours. So a millibar per hour. That's a rapidly strengthening area of low pressure. And what that means is that the lower the pressure, the higher the pressure surrounds it, you have a pressure gradient. The wind wants to go from high to low pressure. That is how you get stronger winds. That's all this really means. That's why the winds will be so strong, because this air of low pressure rapidly deepens. Here's the forecast from the Weather Prediction Center. I just want to kind of step through this. You can see right now it's being analyzed right around 995 millibars. So in order to get to what we call bombogenesis, or down 24 millibars, we got to get down to 971. If we advance this forward to early, so 24 hours from now-ish, it's down to 976. So borderline what we call bombogenesis. So very rapidly deepening area of low pressure with this system. Borderline bombogenesis. So, it's really difficult to call it this ahead of time because it has to reach that criteria. Either way, that's kind of what we're looking at there. And then here comes that Arctic front. You can see that really strong cold front there. The really tight black lines here, that is that pressure gradient, so that really those closer those lines are together, the stronger the winds. That's what you're looking at here. And then by early Sunday, you can just see this big fetch of cold air is opening on up. Some good news, you may finally miss out on some snow in the upper and middle part of the Midwest. This Clipper system early Sunday likely passes off to the south. However, when you're having clippers passing off to your south, that's how you know it's really cold air. So brutally cold temperatures will be coming pretty quickly. When we look at the forecast of those wind chills, here we are early Sunday morning. Wind chill values, we're approaching 30 to 40 degrees below zero across much of the central part of the Midwest. So very dangerous cold air. When you have wind chills approaching 30 to 40 below zero, that is life-threatening cold. Frostbite can set in as little as 15 minutes. So again, we're really trying to express, please stay home if you don't have to travel, because if you are commuting, you crash, you're going to be stranded outside. That's already a problem. But then we have this cold air to contend with. So these cold temperatures, if you're stranded outside, could be deadly. And you're also putting, of course, the lives of first responders that then have to help you and things like that. If, of course, we understand everyone has to, there's lives have to go. You know, people have to go to work, nurses, firefighters, police officers. We get that. People have to go to work. And so if you do get stranded in this winter system, the best thing you can do is stay with your vehicle and stay inside your vehicle. Because if you try to walk for help in blizzard conditions, you can very quickly get disoriented. And also worse, people that are driving, they're not going to see you. They might hit you on the side of the road. So again, if you do get stranded, stay with your car. Iowa Cloud Chaser saying, what's your opinion of the potential of thunder snow in southern and eastern Iowa tonight? It's possible. It's a pretty dynamic system that comes into play. But the system is also a bit on the colder side. Typically for thunderstorm, you do need it to be a bit more warmer and moist. To allow some instability in the middle parts of the atmosphere. I don't think we're talking about, a big high impact, a thunder snow event, but with that said, it is a possibility. Melissa says, hi, there's a snow coming. Yes, we got some snowstorms coming on through. We're talking about the cold that comes after that snow. If we step into your Monday, here's wind chills early Monday morning, kind of more of the same, 30 to 35 degrees below zero. Some spots potentially pushing near 40 below zero. The winds will be calmer early Monday morning. However, the temperatures will be colder. And, it doesn't take much of a wind to have these really extreme wind chill values as we head towards Monday morning. Tuesday morning, kind of more of the same, really not much of an improvement. Still widespread areas of 30 to 40 degrees below zero for wind chills, especially in the early morning hours when temperatures are their coldest. So we're talking about some very, very extremely cold temperatures on the way, friends, and this is how things are shaping up. With that said, let me go back, and I want to answer Matthew's question. He was asking about one of the snowiest periods on record. Will this end up? Well, let's have some fun, shall we? You're going to see me do all of this in real time, so bear with me. So we are, that's really bright. I wish there's a way to dark mode this website. I apologize. So we're going to do, let's do extremes. Let's do a length of period, 7 days. We'll do total snowfall. So we'll do a week. We'll say a 7-day period. We'll do the Quad Cities market, so Davenport, and we'll do Cedar Rapids. So these are going to be the top 7 snowiest, or the snowiest 7-day stretch on record, all right? And so here we are. The snowiest week, basically on record, is 26 inches. So that is the number to beat this week. So that's the number to beat. We are already probably pretty high on this. If I look at, let me go ahead and change this to number of records. Let's do just 90. I'm curious where we already are. It's got to be up there. Let's do 2024. Not there yet, huh? I'm kind of surprised. Oh, hold on. I know why. I need to do Cedar Rapids number 1. I'm gone for a little bit, and I already forgot. Cedar Rapids number 1. Here we go. So the number to beat is still 26 inches. So far, are we really not in a top? How is that possible? Total snowfall, period of 7 days, highest. Interesting. Okay, so the number to beat is 26 inches. Let's do some quick math here. Stand by. We're going to do, let's do graph, accumulation graph, sure, of snowfall. Cedar Rapids number 1. All right, so, all right, we don't have the number, January 10th. So 10.4, so 10.7, there's nothing before, right? Okay, so we're at 10.7, and that didn't include the snow event that came late last night and early today. That was probably like 3-ish inches. So I would venture a guess we're probably around 13.7-ish for now. So 11 inches. 11 inches, that's how much snow we need to beat the record for the snowiest week on record. Hope that answers your question. Any other questions you guys may have about the snow event coming on through, we can go ahead and look at the radar view again. I don't want that. I want this guy. Here we go. So again, here's a look at the radar view. You can see the snow is falling already in eastern Nebraska, just on a push into far western Iowa. We have a report already of 2 inches here in Columbus, Nebraska. So we're starting to get some preliminary snowfall reports coming on in already as the system begins to push off to the east. We'll be kind of continuing to move on through for quite a while. Again, this snow system is really just getting started. We knew the biggest impacts, especially for the state of Iowa, would be felt as we go through the overnight. Let me go ahead and let's take a look at the other question, which is referring to thunder snow possibilities. Let me work on this real quick. Let me jump forward to this. We'll jump forward to composite, or precept type actually. And let's go back to Chrome. So here's what we're looking at in terms of that potential snowfall threat. Again, here we are at 2 a.m. You can see the snow is pushing up to like Highway 30 and like east central Iowa. If we plop a sounding, let's say over Washington, you see there's not a lot of instability kind of here. I would like to see these lapse rates to be a bit more, 7.2, it's out of the realm of possibility. We also are seeing some pretty good omega or rising motion. Of course, I took this in the middle of the snow, so it's not that surprising. But there's some good vertical motion with this. I think it's possible, but the threat for thundersnow I don't think is overall that extreme. We'll keep an eye on it, though. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Again, looking at the timeline here, you can see that snow is pushing to Cedar Rapids probably firmly by 2 a.m. Continuing as you go through the overnight hours into early tomorrow morning. Here we are at 6 a.m. You can see that snow is covering almost the entire state of Iowa at this point in time, and really into northern Illinois. The morning commute in Chicago looks like a disaster tomorrow. Big time problems up that way. And that will continue going forward. You can see a pretty high impact winter storm will continue. Story says she's in Tennessee. Very nice. Thanks for watching. Looks like you're not going to see too much with this, although Tennessee, I believe there's a bit of a severe threat down that way. You should be in that. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, depending on where you are in Tennessee, there is that severe weather threat here. You can see that slight risk pushing up towards like Nashville. There is that severe weather threat tomorrow. The main threat tomorrow would be likely some gusty winds. I think the tornado threat should be off to your south, but I think some gusty winds will be a concern for you over in Tennessee tomorrow. Brandon asking about Sioux City. Will this system cause power outages? So I get this question sometimes, and let me just stress that I'm not an expert in utilities. What I can tell you is what the weather will be like. So here's what I can tell you. The wind gust tomorrow in Sioux City is not going to be as extreme as it will be in eastern Iowa. Midday Saturday behind the Arctic front, it's probably going to be your windiest period. You can see gusts here over towards Sioux City, pushing maybe 40 miles per hour, maybe 50 miles per hour, based on this model here, which is a high resolution rapid refresh. But the strongest winds tomorrow will be in eastern Iowa into northern Illinois, where gusts again could push maybe 40 to 50 miles an hour. So that's kind of what we're looking at for Sioux City. It's possible, per se, to see some power outages up that way, but I don't think it's going to be, a high impact winter storm threat or a power outage threat for you. But again, it's really just heavily dependent on the the utilities. How well are they prepared? How well is the grid prepared? There's a lot that really goes into these severe weather threats, if that makes sense. What else we got? Any other questions? We got Gary. I live in Marengo, Iowa, but study the winter in Arizona, so let it snow. Gosh, that's a good place to run away from the snow. Again, I moved to Florida, so I'm also escaping the snow. But unlike a lot of people that fled to Florida, I want the snow. I'm missing this, and it kind of hurts a little bit, missing out on the action. I'm gonna see if I can pull up some traffic cameras in Nebraska, just to kind of see what it looks like out that way right now. Let's see if this works. I don't know if any of these are videos. Do map view. Let me turn off. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. Get rid of construction. All right, let's see what we got going on here. So here we are in Nebraska. Let's see what we got. Cameras. Heaviest snow is up this way. Let's take a peek. Closed due to construction. That's unfortunate. Got some lower visibility there. Fremont. Let's see what this looks like. Camera's loading. All right, it may not be in the cards today. Up here. Man, we are lucking out with these cameras. Here is far eastern Nebraska. Kind of hard to tell if it's actively snowing. There's some haze there in the streetlights, but it doesn't look too bad yet. I-80, thankfully, for now, still looks pretty fine. We are seeing some slick spots over by York. You can see it looks like some lower visibility. Let's see if we got any traffic lights here. Yeah, I can definitely see the snow is starting to accumulate there on the roadways. Some of the visibility is starting to drop as well. So these are the conditions right now over in Nebraska. We are starting to see those issues pop up. That camera's down. That's a kind of a cool one here. See some low visibility. You can kind of see in the headlights though, those streams, that's stream of snow. So we are seeing that blowing and drifting snow already with the system over towards Nebraska. And again, this is just the beginning. This is what's coming to Iowa as we go through the overnight. The good news is, the evening commute today for the region was pretty much fine. Let's do some plow cameras. Let's see if they give us any bigger view of what's going on. Like, this looks pretty rough. Where's this at? Oh, yeah. So that's some good stuff there. St. Louis and Northeast Missouri area. Yeah, I mean, that would be that would make sense. Let me pop over in radar here. This radar hole is brutal. We'll switch over to this is gonna be the initial onset. But what you can also notice, this is kind of always fun to see, is you can see the dry air. See this like big donut hole right here? That was kind of a terrible drawing, but you see this big donut hole right here? Notice how the snow is like pushing north, but then it's like hitting a wall. I don't know what's going on there. That's weird. Can you see that too? There we go. Fixed it. Watch as the snow pushes in. The precipitation on the radar begins to push in from the south, and it begins to kind of get eaten away and wraps around. So what you're looking at here is the radar beam. This is also proof that the Earth isn't flat, by the way, but whatever. So what's happening here is the radar beam is shooting up, and as the Earth curves away from the radar beam, it's shooting higher and higher and higher up in the atmosphere. And so over here, what you're looking at is snow that's higher up in the atmosphere that's actually falling. But here, because we're closer to the radar site, it's hitting dry air and evaporating. So you're seeing snow way high up and around the radar where the radar beam is lower in the atmosphere. You don't see the snow because the dry air is eating it away before it falls. So eventually what you're going to end up seeing is this donut hole gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's how you know the dry air is kind of eaten is gone over the radar site. And so, yes, we're seeing returns on radar up here in central and northeast Iowa, but this likely is not reaching the ground yet due to some dry air in place. But the farther south that you go, there's definitely more of a possibility. Down this way, it might be already starting to fall. This band that you were kind of referring to, Iowa, I'm gonna call you Iowa. Because the heavier rates are there, higher DBZs, it's a possibility this is already starting to reach the ground. So it's possible. But again, there's certainly some dry air that we're eating. It's eating away at this initial band, which is totally expected. This is, not going to impact the forecast that much as of yet. This dry air that has to overcome is very typical and happens pretty much all the time. Julian's saying, I'll send you some styrofoam coolers out from Monticello. Plenty to go around. Yeah, there's a lot of snow up there in eastern Iowa, and you're going to add on a lot more. Some places might double how much snow is already on the ground with this event coming tonight into tomorrow, which is just a crazy, crazy thing to think about. Goodness gracious. How did I miss out on this freaking thing? I'm so sad on this winter storm. Let's take a look around Nebraska again. Let's see what else is going on. We're just now starting to see the snow kind of increase. So we're looking at some more points here. So you can see this on-ramp or off-ramp, I'm guessing. On US 30, it's already starting to get snow covered, so it's not going to take much. The air is already cold, the roads are already cold, and so once the snow begins to fall, it's going to pretty much accumulate pretty much right away, and that's what we're seeing already here in eastern Nebraska. If I jump over to Iowa, let's see, there's some slick spots up there in northwest Iowa. Also, the amount of cars that are probably still in ditches around here has got to be insane. Let's take a look around Cedar Rapids. We've already got issues here in Cedar Rapids, and the snow hasn't even fallen yet. Looks like we have a car slid off. We got this car backing up. There might be a car here in the ditch. This is the on-ramp from downtown onto I-380 southbound. So the roads are already slick. We're already starting to see issues. But in Cedar Rapids, you can see things look fine for now. The snow isn't here yet. Again, that's expected. The snow is not expected to arrive until later on tonight. So plenty of time for the snow to arrive. Let's actually look. There should be some cameras. You don't update as often. This is a video camera, though, huh? That's interesting. So this is right near that higher reflectivity there in southern Iowa. So we got some headlights coming. Let's see if we can see any snow falling. It doesn't look like it. So yeah, it looks like in southern Iowa, even though that band is pushing northward on radar, I don't think it's falling yet because of that dry air in place, but it shouldn't take too long. Here's down by Cantrell, very dark, but it doesn't look like any snow is falling there either. This, as of 8:42, doesn't look like much is falling there either. So again, I think that dry air is eating away at all that stuff. Let's see. Yeah, that looks like nothing yet. All right, let's jump over to closer toward Omaha. We might start seeing some flakes flying here. It looks like not quite yet. So it's coming. It's getting close. Any other questions you guys have? Happy to answer anything you guys got. Otherwise, I think we'll wrap this up. Obviously, of course, we got big problems developing as we go through the overnight into tomorrow. To reiterate, I did want to pass this along one more time. This, again, came from the National Weather Service over in Des Moines. Storms of this magnitude are fairly rare, with recurrence around once or twice per decade. Travel is not recommended except if absolutely necessary, especially by Friday afternoon into the evening. That's a direct quote from the National Weather Service to really stress just how dangerous the storm gets. Again, we got the combination of heavy snowfall followed by very strong winds and then very strong cold temperatures. So it's a trifecta of problems going forward tonight. We do have winter storm warnings in effect across much of the state of Iowa, into much of Wisconsin, northern Illinois, into Michigan as well, and of course ongoing in eastern Nebraska. That blizzard warning there in orange, which I actually did not label properly. That orange is blizzard warning. That is in effect starting tomorrow as the winds begin to really rapidly increase. Again, I'm looking like this in terms of snowfall threat tonight into early Saturday morning. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 10 inches for much of the region. Some mixing problems in far southern Iowa and far northern Missouri into central portions of Illinois probably keeps the totals down. I do have some overlapping totals there. In eastern Iowa to northern Illinois, 6 to 10 and 7 to 14. That's in part because we're looking at kind of two different pieces of energy. How each of those kind of shape up is a little difficult to pinpoint. So that's why I got two different kind of areas there. I do want to talk real quick again on the cold. Sunday morning, wind chills dropping 30 to 40 below zero. Likewise, by Monday morning, even colder. Maybe some spots are more widespread, 30 to 40 degrees below zero. That continues into Tuesday morning as well. So a bitter cold stretch of weather is coming to the Midwest. That's after we get through some snow. Asher is asking any more snow after this, maybe late next week. What I can show you, let me go ahead and pull up a model real quick. Give me 1 second. The good news with the brutal cold building in is that the storm track is pushed farther south. So really the bulk of the snow should likely stay further south of you in the short term here as you deal with that really cold weather. I'll pop, where's it at here? Pop this back up. There we go. So again, here comes that storm tonight. You can see the tight gradient of pressure bars, those isobars. That's your really strong wind. All snow from Iowa into Wisconsin, northern Illinois, maybe some changeover, but a lot of snow there too. We got this likely second system that kind of passes on through. Maybe late Saturday and early Sunday, that could drop another maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow as an Arctic front blasts on through. But then I think the pattern, the snow track and that storm track should stay south of much of the Midwest. Here we are late Sunday to Monday. There's kind of a clipper system that passes well south because that storm track is so darn far south. There's another system that kind of takes off there. Again, maybe another clipper here as we head towards late next week, but that's a week away. There's a lot that can change. The good news is, unlike this time, we had that storm earlier this week, but we knew this second storm was looming. This time we're dealing with this storm, and there's not really another storm looming there in the distance. The big thing is just the cold. That's going to be the main story late this weekend into early next week. Again, the bitter cold. That's because we got some very cold air being pulled in. If we look at, let me pop this up again. We'll go back to the models here. This is kind of what I mean about the storm track, by the way. Roughly, what I like looking at is that 540 line for storm track when you get into the deep of winter. When you look at here is, here's your storm system right there. Your airflow pressure is developing right here. Part of the reason why the storm system rapidly intensifies because how strong this jet streak is, how strong this jet stream is. That big trough really allows it to rapidly intensify. You got this constant northwest flow being pulled in, so really cold air by early next week, and that fetch of cold air continues Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And the battleground, so where that storm track actually sets up, looks to be farther south. So kind of in this contrast here between above normal and below normal heights. That is about your storm track. And so I think, much of Iowa likely escapes more winter storms. The upper Midwest kind of escapes more of the potent winter storms because of this pattern. The northwest flow also is a bit drier as well as colder. So that's some good news there. All right, with that said, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We'll probably do some other updates here on Facebook and all that kind of stuff down the road. I really do appreciate you for following along. We've been tracking this particular winter storm now for about a week. We've been doing these kind of Facebook Lives and YouTube updates now for the first about 2 weeks of January. Let me know if you're enjoying them, if you do want me to do more of these. I've been really enjoying them. Thank you all for tuning in. Yesterday we had a lot of viewers and things like that, so I really appreciate you all for tuning on in. Hope you're all having a great evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe if you're in the path of that winter storm tomorrow, and stay warm as well because things are going to get brutally cold. One more comment there. Iowa says, I wouldn't call this lucky because I want more snow. Don't you have enough? Share with everyone else. Share the love with everybody else. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and we'll